राहत ये दिल पाए वो मस्कन है खिलाफत का जहाँ राहत ये दिल पाए.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to This Week with Huzoor. Today we will present a report on a series of Jamia classes with Hazrat Khalifatul Masih, may Allah be his helper. But before we get to that, we begin with some footage of a recent inspection at Islamabad.
Hazrat Khalifatul Masih V, may Allah be his helper, inspected Islamabad earlier this week. Beloved Huzoor asked office bearers for various updates on the site and offered guidance. However, this week's main story regards the graduating class of Jamia Ahmadiyya UK. These students saw their studies disrupted by the global pandemic and have instead been performing duties at Islamabad for several months. 2 weeks ago, they were invited by beloved Huzoor for what became the first in a series of private lessons.
So the first thing I realized was how well Khalifatul Masih knows each and every single one of us. On the day of the first class, as soon as Huzoor came in and sat down, he started from the right and pointed at each person and told us our names. And he said, Tum Hariso, Tum Mubarizo, Tum Attaro, Tum Safrazo. And even we had masks on covering half our faces, and Huzoor was still able to recognize us.
Huzoor asked about my father, and this was regarding his operation which he had a while ago. And Huzoor asked how he was doing. And I was shocked that Huzoor asked this, because I wrote letters quite a few times during the days of his surgery. And I was just shocked about how well Huzoor remembered this detail. And this just goes to show that how Huzoor remembers the most minute details, even though thousands of people write letters to Huzoor every day.
Dreamlike from day one. I remember the first day we got told that the class is happening. We got told 2 or 3 days prior to the class actually happening. We were told it's going to be happening on Monday and Tuesday. So what we thought was there's been some sort of miscommunication, because how could it be that he's giving us a day for mulaqat and it's 2 days, one after the other. And then we went with the mindset it could be either Monday or Tuesday. And one of these one-offs. And I remember when we first went into class and the class took place and it happened, and what happened. At the end of the class, Huzoor looked at us and he says, "Ke, for tomorrow, I'm giving you homework to do 50 pages of Haqiqatul Wahi." And that's when I just knew that something historical had just happened. A turn of event I would never imagine.
My entire class prepared the 50 pages as best as they could, because we knew that beloved Huzoor would ask us about it the next day. So when it came to the next class, Huzoor asked all of us if we have read the 50 pages. And when we replied that we have tried to prepare it as best as we could, Huzoor went through the 50 pages and asked us about the minutest of details. And the amazing thing was that Huzoor didn't actually have the book in front of him. And despite this, Huzoor still knew even the smallest details about the book. And it felt as though Huzoor actually had the book in front of him, but he didn't. And the amazing thing was that for us, it felt as though Huzoor was our teacher and he was teaching us. And it felt as though we were sitting in a classroom. And this is something which we have never experienced before, and it's something which I would cherish forever.
And whilst reading the book, we came across a chapter where Huzoor alayhi salam wrote regarding how he healed people with his prayers. And regarding this, a question came to my mind, that once Huzoor Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz said regarding Ibrahim Ikhlaf Sahib, that when he became ill with the coronavirus, Huzoor Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz said that don't worry, he will recover and he will be completely fine. And this was at a time when Ibrahim Ikhlaf Sahib was completely ill, and we were receiving messages that he's in a very serious condition. So I just was curious. I asked Huzoor how he was so certain, and how did he have so much conviction that he would recover. And he said that sometimes when I pray, God puts a certain conviction in my heart that this person will be okay. And I say it. And sometimes when I say something, God blesses my words in a way that whatever I've said, that comes to be. And he also said that sometimes when people MDs write to me for prayers asking that such and such relative is ill or in serious condition, Huzoor said mujhe wo tasalli nahi hoti, that I'm not satisfied. And I also pray for them and I write back, Allah Ta'ala raham kare, may Allah have mercy. So he said this is, so it happens with prayer sometimes, you receive that conviction. And he said that other MDs as well have this as well. And he said you guys should also, in your prayers, you should have this feeling of conviction sometimes.
At one point in this class, the word Ashab Sufa came up, and then it was ilham of Hazrat Masih alayhi salam, where it said that the Prophet Messiah alayhi salam will be granted the same Ashab Sufa as the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So we asked Huzoor, who were these Ashab Sufa, and what is meant by this ilham of Hazrat Masih alayhi salam. To this, Huzoor said, Ashab Sufa are the people that surrounded Hazrat Masih at the time and the people that surround Khalifa Waqt at this time. Huzoor said that every waqf, you guys, Murabbiyan, every waqf zindagi, you're all Ashab Sufa, because you're always at the doorstep of Khilafat, ready to sacrifice your life's time, wealth, honor for his sake.
One of the questions I had for Huzoor was, Huzoor, how would an individual overcome frustration and anger, especially with the workload and any pressures that a Murabbi has? And Huzoor Anwar replied that a Murabbi, first and foremost, should not have any anger or any frustration. But he said that you should make this hadith your target and your way of life. Huzoor sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that a person should look in worldly affairs at the person who is below him and see how God has blessed him, and that way he will be content. So Huzoor's main message was that if you stay content and if you believe that truly you have been blessed and God is always blessing you, there is no way that frustration can creep into your thoughts, and that way you will always count your blessings rather than be frustrated upon the things which you do not have.
So one of our classmates asked Huzoor if he had ever wanted to go to Jamia when he was younger, and Huzoor replied that when he was at that age, he made the intention to go to Jamia with a friend. And Huzoor said his friend ended up going to Jamia, but Huzoor didn't. And then Huzoor said, uske baad maine kai irade kiye, he made many different intentions. और आखिर में मैं वहाँ आ गया जिधर आने का बिल्कुल मेरा कोई इरादा नहीं था.
क्लास के दौरान खाकसार को मौका मिला हज़रत साहब से सवाल करने का. तो सवाल मेरा ये था कि हुजूर से कि हुजूर, जिस तरह के आजकल के हालात दुनिया के काफ़ी ख़राब हैं, तो क्या आगे जाके आपको क्या लगता है कि हालात कैसे होंगे? इस पर हज़रत साहब ने फरमाया कि हालात तो बुरे के बुरे होते जाएंगे, मगर आखिर लोग खुदा की तरफ वापस लौटेंगे और खुदा पूछेंगे कि किधर है खुदा. तो उस पर हुजूर ने फरमाया हमारी पूरी क्लास को देखकर कि उस वक्त तुम लोग क्या करोगे, कि ये फिर ये तुम लोगों का काम होगा कि लोगों को खुदा की तरफ वापस लाना.
We see that our 7 years of Jamia had come to an abrupt end due to the pandemic in the world, and the second semester was pretty much over suddenly. However, even with this in mind, where we felt like we were a bit anxious if we were able to go to Africa and Pakistan, and we were worried about what's going to happen with us now, Huzoor, in his overwhelming, loving and fatherly figure, has given us so much time in these 2 past weeks that we literally can say that that worry and anxiety that we had has completely transformed into an immense level of peace and comfort.
Those were interviews regarding Jamia classes which took place over the last 2 weeks. We now end the program with our Friday sermon summary.
Hazrat Amirul Mumineen continued his series of sermons on the companions of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This week, he spoke extensively on Hazrat Bilal Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu and outlined numerous incidents from his life. Huzoor also briefly mentioned the present situation for Ahmadi Muslims in Pakistan.
مسلم فرماتے ہیں احمدیوں کو نصیحت کرتے ہوئے اس وقت جو ہجرت کر کے آئے تھے ہندوستان سے پاکستان کہ میں بھی تمہیں یہی کہتا ہوں کہ خوش رہو. تم یہ نہ دیکھو کہ ہم نے کیا کھویا ہے, تم دیکھو کہ ہم نے کس کے لیے کھویا ہے. اگر تم نے جو کھویا وہ خدا تعالیٰ کے لیے اور اسلام کی ترقی کے لیے کھویا ہے تو تم خوش رہو اور کسی موقع پر بھی اپنی کمریں خم نہ ہونے دو. تمہارے چہرے افسردہ نہ ہوں بلکہ ان پر خوشی کے آثار پائے جائیں. تو ہم احمدی تو اس سوچ کے رکھنے والے تھے اور یہ ہمیں نصیحت کی تھی اس وقت خلیفہ نے کہ ہماری ہجرت اللہ تعالیٰ کی خاطر اور اسلام کی خدمت کے لیے ہے. آج وہ لوگ جو پاکستان کی تعمیر کے خلاف تھے, پاکستان کی اساس اور بنیاد کے دعوے دار بن کر اپنے جھوٹ اور فریب سے احمدیوں کو اس ملک کے بنیادی شہری حقوق سے محروم کر رہے ہیں, جس کی خاطر سب سے زیادہ قربانیاں احمدیوں نے دیں. جس دین کی برتری اور خدمت کے لیے ہم نے ہجرت کی, پاکستان کی پارلیمنٹ نے اپنے سیاسی مقاصد کی خاطر اس دین کا نام لینے پر بھی ہم پر پابندی لگا دی. ہمیں بہرحال ان کی کسی سند کی ضرورت نہیں ہے, لیکن ہمیں افسوس اس بات پر ضرور ہوتا ہے کہ ان نام نہاد ملک کے ٹھیکیداروں نے احمدیوں پر یہ ظلم کر کے صرف احمدیوں پر ظلم نہیں کیا بلکہ پاکستان پر ظلم کیا ہے اور کر رہے ہیں, اور دنیا میں ملک کی بدنامی کا باعث بن رہے ہیں, اس کی ترقی میں روک بن رہے ہیں. اگر یہ لوگ نہ ہوں تو ملک کی ترقی کر کے کہیں کا کہیں پہنچ چکا ہو. جو ملک کو کھا رہے ہیں, دیمک کی طرح چاٹ رہے ہیں, لیکن اس کے باوجود ہم پاکستانی احمدیوں کا یہ کام ہے, خاص طور پر جو پاکستان میں رہنے والے ہیں, کہ ملک کی ترقی کے لیے اپنی تمام تر صلاحیتوں کے ساتھ کوشش کرتے رہیں اور دعا کریں کہ اللہ تعالیٰ ان ظالموں سے اس ملک کو پاک کرے.